Hey guys, it's Penguin here, and welcome back to another goal making video. Today, this video is going to be more of a chill, just type of recap video. It has officially been 2 weeks since the release date of 9.1, which was June 29th for the NA region, and ever since then, it is currently Monday the 12th, so it's been basically almost 2 full weeks. Tomorrow, when this video is released, so the day you are watching this, it would have been officially 2 weeks of sales, so I thought it was a perfect time to just kind of break down exactly how much I've made, how I've gotten to make that much, and just what are my thoughts with the next coming resets. But yeah, guys, we are going to waste no time, and we are going to get right into it. So the first thing that we have is the total gold amount that we have gotten in sales inside of Shadowlands 9.1, which in the past 13 days, technically 2 weeks counting tomorrow, we have officially made 5,392,852 gold. This is currently 3:33 p.m. on the 12th of July, and when you guys are seeing this, this will be the 13th of July. So in the past 13 days, we have made about 5.4 million gold in sales. Now, of course, not all of this is profit because, of course, I do have to buy all my materials because that's what I plan to do. And that's just how I like to do my things. So this 5.4 million is not all profit. However, we're going to break down our sales and how much time we spent. So before we go into the breakdown of the professions, we are first going to just talk about how many hours I spend playing this game. Now, within the past month, my game time per day has actually decreased a little bit, and that's just because of outside factors, but generally, I spend 4 days live streaming every single week, and I live stream for at least 3 hours. That is the guaranteed minimum amount, and with my current Twitch schedule, I am live streaming 4 days a week, so every single week I will be streaming 12 hours of gameplay. So, in generally, those 12 hours a week, I am definitely doing gold making or I'm doing Korthia, so in general, I am doing gold making for at least 12 hours a week. Now, every single day of the week, whether I'm streaming or not, I normally play anywhere between 2 to 3 hours. Now, some days, I do 5 days, some days I only can play for an hour and I just post my auctions and that's it. So I'm just going to meet it in the middle, and so every single day, whether you're on stream or not, I am playing, let's say, 3 hours. So if we want to add that all together, that is 12 hours a week with streaming. So if you double that for the 2 weeks, that is 24 hours. And then if we take the 3 hours every single day for 14 days, that is 42 hours with a total of 66 hours. So in the past 2 weeks, I have played 66 hours of World of Warcraft. And of course, there are times that I'm leveling a character, I am doing the, Korthia intro quest, I am in the mall AFKing, and all of that. However, we're just going to use 66 hours for this example. So for all your gold farmers out there, the reason why I bring up this 66 hour mark, because if you guys want to take into account that 5.4 million gold that we have in sales, and you want to divide it by that 66 hour mark, that means I am technically, quote unquote, making 81.7k per hour. So if you are a farmer, if you like to farm all your materials, stuff like that, technically I am making about 81.7k per hour right now in the first 2 weeks of 9.1. Of course, like I said before, this is not all profit, so, it might be in more like the 50, 60 range. However, for only playing, guaranteed only like 3 hours a day, sometimes I'll be playing 6, it's a pretty good number, especially with all of the other stuff we've had to do, rep grinds, everything like that. I'm very happy with that number. So just going forward, to let you guys know, if you guys are kind of like the more farming mindset, you can just think about I'm making rounded up to about 82k per hour on a technical manner. But of course, we don't really speak about gold crafting and gold making kind of like that. However, you can think of that in that way if that helps you out. But we are now going to break down exactly how much I have sold with each category and profession, and we're going to get started. So the first category that we have is Enchanting. Now, Enchanting, like it's just strictly me selling the tenants, the Eternals, and just all of the enchants for your armor and your weapons. Now, currently, to this date, I have made 204,000 gold in the past 13 days with Enchanting. Now, this totals out to be about 514 enchants that I have sold, and generally, this is just, the 200 gold enchants that I've sold. But I mean, 200 gold, if you sell a lot of them, it definitely adds up, which is how we get that 203,000 mark. Now, I will say that I have noticed in the past week So from the 6th of July until now, I have seen a very, very big increase of Enchanting compared to the first week, and that's just because the raid released, the season started, and whenever that happens, people are getting their new gear, they are starting to gear up, whether that's their ults or their main character, and every time somebody, gets that new piece of gear, they're also gonna have to buy a new enchant with it. So Enchanting has definitely been one of the better things, especially for the past 6 days. From the past reset that was on the 6th or 7th if you were EU, I have noticed a very, very big difference between enchanting sales and enchanting profits and all of that. So I have currently made about 204,000 gold off of enchants, and the next thing we're going to be talking about is tailoring. The next thing we have is tailoring, and this little section is just going to cover bags. Now, the reason for this is because the tailoring gear, so the Shrouded Cloth set as well as the Shadowlands set, I have kind of grouped that all into Crafter's Marks items, so we'll be discussing that in just a second, but whenever I say tailoring, basically, I just mean bags, and all of this is from Shadowlands, so we are talking about the Shrouded Cloth bags, as well as the Lightless Silk pouches. So, in total, for the last 13 days, I have sold 338 bags for a total of 101,000 gold. So, bags are one of those things that you can quickly just make a ton of, throw up on the auction house, they will slowly start to sell, and of course, as people are coming into Korthia, they're leveling up their ults, and they're creating new ults. People always need bags. So I personally haven't seen a crazy increase in normal bag sales. I feel like this is probably a pretty average amount for my server to sell. Now, of course, keep in mind that I do play on about a medium pop server. So you probably can sell a lot more bags than me, but this is just taking into consideration the 2 Shadowlands bags, and I have made about 101,000 gold. So bags are very, very easy to do as long as they're profitable. I highly recommend I make about 30 at a time, throw them up on the auction house. They're a little bit annoying to cancel scan, but it's worth it. At the end of the day, I sell a pretty good amount every single day, and I've made a pretty decent amount of gold off of it. Now, the next bigger category we have is Crafter's Marks gear. Now, for the ledger, which you guys will all be seeing the ledgers on my screen, however, it's kind of hard for the ledger to differentiate between the different Crafter's Marks as well as the different Legendaries. So on screen now will be the total of Novice gear as well as Crafter's Marks 3 gear. When I'm recording this video, I personally do not have Tier 4 with the Codex faction, so I still do not have the Chained Isle Crafter's Marks. So sadly, I am missing out on a ton of gold. However, plenty of people inside of my comments, community, as well as my Discord have talked about how they have made millions strictly on just these Crafter's Marks. There'll be a few pictures of people talking and screenshots and everything on screen, but I am definitely missing out because I do not have that reputation yet. However, I'm slowly working towards it. But I will say last Tuesday I did get the Crafter's Marks 3 gear, and within the past probably 3 days I have seen an increase in sales because finally the normal non-goblin players are finally realizing that there is a new Crafter's Marks pieces set for their ults. So right now I have sold about 114 pieces ever since the 29th, and that is a total of 245,000 gold. So over 114 items that I've sold with Crafter's Marks. This is Novice gear and the Crafter's Marks 3 gear combined, and I've made about 245,000 gold. Then we have Inscription. In Inscription, I am mainly talking about missives, Dark Moon decks, as well as the Tomes of Still Mind. Now, these have been great sellers, like I've talked about in a previous video. The reason for this is because the Dark Moon trinkets are the exact same item level as the starting gear in Korthia, which means it is perfect catch-up gear. And it also meets the requirements for the Crafter's Marks 3 gear. If you guys don't know, what I just talked about earlier, the Crafter's Marks 3 gear brings up those item levels to be 200, and you could equip it at your brand new level 60. So pairing the Crafter's Marks gear as well with this Dark Moon deck trinket, that definitely can set up players with their new ults strictly just for Korthia, and they don't have to worry about dying and, having a little bit of a struggle. So Dark Moon decks have definitely been selling like hotcakes. Now, I will say that in general, my server has been very good with those sales, even during the content drought. However, they have still been selling a ton, and I haven't seen any drastic price drops. Now, missives I haven't sold a ton of recently just because of my profit margins aren't that great right now. However, I'm expecting within the next few weeks to see them, kind of go up more in demand, which will hopefully drive that price up, and then I can get more into the missives. So that's kind of my plan, and hopefully if you guys do have profitable missives, I definitely would recommend you getting into that, because everybody recrafting their legendaries, they're going to need missives if they are trying to change their stats. But in total, we have sold 385 items, and that brings us to a total of about 360,000 gold, strictly just off of Inscription. Now, the next category we have is cooking. Now, sadly, cooking on my server has kind of disappointed me within the last 2 weeks, and really that is just because of how cheap it is on my server. Currently, the roast aspects are going for about 25 gold, and all of the other large meals are basically going for that same price. Now, I can still make profit off of it. However, I'm making maybe 10 gold, 9 gold every single time I sell one. So it hasn't been insanely good. However, selling at 25 gold, you can't really expect really big profit margins there. So as you guys can see, I have actually sold a ton of items. To this date, I have sold about 837 items from cooking, which, is over double how much I have sold from Inscription. However, that is only 37,000 gold off of cooking, so I have over doubled the amount of items that I have sold. However, I have about a tenth of how much gold I made off of Inscription. So it's not always about how many items you sell, it's definitely about that profit and how much they are selling for. So sadly, cooking has disappointed me a little bit on my server. I'm hoping with the season just starting to get started, and also Mythic coming out actually technically today when you're watching it, I'm hoping that might help out with the profits and everything, but sadly cooking hasn't been the best, so I've only made about 37,000. So the next profession that we have is Alchemy. Now, Alchemy has been pretty good, I will say, the first week of the 9.1 release. But within this past week, I have kind of run out of herbs, and also since the herb prices have kind of exploded recently on my server, especially within this last week, I have not been able to fully restock how I want to, and so I currently am completely out of my power flasks, and just right now the prices have dropped so low, it's currently unprofitable to craft them. However, I have sold 866 of them with a total of 355,000 gold. So definitely, if I bought a lot more herbs before the release of 9.1, and I just kind of stocked and prepared better, I definitely could probably see a lot more gold, and I wouldn't have to worry about the issue of me running out. However, not only are herbs very expensive right now, also the price has kind of dropped on my server because of people undercutting and everything like that, so kind of both ways, it's not working in my favor. However, I'm hoping that this next Tuesday it's going to reset due to the reason that Mythic is coming out, and hopefully I can hop back into that Alchemy. So that was just a quick, very, very quick overview of kind of all of the professions that I have been focusing on. As you guys could tell, I never really mentioned blacksmithing or leatherworking, and I also never really mentioned engineering, and the reason for that is because, first of all, the only things that I'm really selling right now from blacksmithing and leatherworking is the Crafter's Marks gear. Now, of course, we do have Legendaries, which we're going to bring up at the very end. Besides Legendaries and Crafter's Marks gear, we haven't really sold anything besides that. And then also we have engineering, which just hasn't been very good at all during this expansion, so I just haven't touched engineering at all. Now, the next section that we do have is a few mounts, which we have sold. Now, these mounts technically are not Shadowlands items like everything else has been on this list. However, I do want to mention them because they are very good and mounts are still selling to this day. So, the mounts that I do want to highlight are Panthers, Mechanohogs, and I've also sold a Vial of the Sands. Now, I personally have not been focusing on these mounts due to the fact that there's so much to do in Shadowlands right now, with not a lot of time to play, so every time I can get around to restocking, I will. However, it is what it is at the end of the day, and so, I'm very happy that I still have been getting sales. So, the first thing that we have are Panthers, and to this date, so in the last 2 weeks, I have sold 5 Panthers for a total of 184,000 gold. So That is very good specifically for jewelry crafting panthers from Pandaria. Normally on a lot of servers they're not very profitable, however I am very lucky that they are actually extremely profitable on my server, and so in the total of the last 13 days I have sold 5 in total. Then we have the Mechano Hog, which I have sold 1 of them, and I sold it for about 40,000 gold. So yes, I've only sold 1, and I'm currently out of stock. I still have to go and restock that one. However, I made a solid 40,000 gold off of it selling. And then lastly, I have sold 1 Vial of the Sands, and I've sold it for about 60,000 gold. And generally, I normally sell these anywhere between the 50 and like 68 range. So this one was a pretty good sale. It was just something that I had in stock, and I was able to sell it pretty quickly within these last 2 weeks. Then the next thing I do want to cover real quick is a little bit of the Quartzite crystal flipping. So within the past week, I would say whenever the demand for Quartzite crystals have gone up, I have seen more of a fluctuating price within Quartzite crystals. Now, I was one of those people that did not buy up any crazy amount of crystals before last Tuesday for the reason of that is I was hoping the price kept falling and falling down. However, it never got really cheap on my realm. And to this day, the average market value of my realm is about 5,800 gold for 1 Quartzite crystal, which is very expensive compared to NA region, which is like the 2,800 mark. My server is almost double the region average. However, it is what it is, and so within the last week, whenever I did see, crystals drop below the 5,000 mark, I made sure to pick them up, and I either used them for my legendaries rank 5s and 6s personally, or I just waited, resetted the market, and then sold them as they were. So, doing this little flipping, I have flipped about 52 crystals, which is not an insane amount. However, on my server, there has been no more than about 500 crystals at a time, so 52 that's about 1/10 of the market that I bought up, and I have sold them for about 287,000 gold. Like I said before, definitely since this is a flip, that is not all profit. However, it is just a nice chunk of change that I can get for simply just buying and selling, and normally it flips within the same day or even the same hour. But with all of those items being sold, I have made a total of about 1.9 million gold, strictly off all of the items that I listed before. Now, of course, I told you that I made about 5.4 million, and so that remaining about 3.5 million has all come from legendaries. Now, the fact that legendaries take up, over half of my total gold that I have made in the past 2 weeks is not very surprising at all for me, because the combination of the demand rising and the profit margins rising within the 9.1 release era, and also the fact that most of my prep hours and everything that I have bought in preparation for 9.1 has been heavily legendary focused. I stocked up a ton of cloth, a ton of ores, and all of that just strictly for Shadowcast gear, and also for the tailoring cloths and all of that gear. So it's not very surprising to me that legendaries have made up most of my change. Now, to anybody wondering, I have only sold about 2 rank 5 legendaries and 0 rank 6 legendaries. However, this is Tuesday when you're watching this, and this is finally the week that people will be able to craft these legendaries, which means that demand is finally going to go up, kind of like Quartzite crystals did, so hopefully we will see a lot more sales within the near future. However, to this date, I have only sold 2 of the new ranks, and I sold them for about 300,000 gold each, and it was a cloth cape as well as a cloth pair of pants, both being rank 5s. So, besides all of that, all of my gear has been either jewelry crafting, blacksmithing, or tailoring legendaries anywhere between rank 1 to rank 4. But I have made about 3.5 million gold strictly with just legendaries. But yeah, guys, that is basically the summary of how I have currently made about 5.4 million gold in sales within the last 13 days ever since the 9.1 release. Now, quickly, just my final thoughts and kind of what I am planning to do in the future is, first off, like I kind of stated just a second ago, this is finally the week where people are going to be able to craft rank 5s due to the amount of soul cinders that are now available, which means everybody who is planning to upgrade their legendary this week finally has to buy them, which means that demand for these ranks are going to increase. A lot of people did not need to pre-purchase legendaries for the fact that there really is no benefit in doing so, because generally the longer you wait, the more the price goes down, and as a buyer, that's really all that matters to you as long as you can get a good deal with it. So a lot of people wait as long as possible in order for them to get the cheapest necessary. But this week, finally, there's people that are finally going to have enough soul cinders. They're definitely going to want to pick up their legendary, which possibly will increase those legendary sales overall, and especially during those rank 5s and rank 6s. The next thing that I have is this week is also when the mythic difficulty is coming out for the raid. So I'm hoping possibly cooking will improve, and also I'm going to hop on the train and try to get some more potions as long as the herb prices kind of even out, which I see that they are slowly doing on my server. Nightshade has kind of crashed a little bit, which I'm using that to my full advantage, and I picked a ton up, but Widowbloom right now is kind of my factor that's holding me back. However, whenever it gets cheap, I'm going to buy it all up as I can so I can make sure I can stock up on potions and get ready for this release. Also, Enchanting, once again, is going to be one of those big things. Now, since so many people are now running the new mythics and running the raid, a lot of people are getting new gear, especially if you're doing your dailies inside of Korthia. So, personally, on my server, I have seen internal crystals drop. So if you are in that same kind of boat as me, I personally have picked up a lot of eternal crystals, which I am using to create my own enchants to sell. However, that's just a possibility. You can either try to flip them or you can craft them yourself. However, I will say I have noticed a very cheap eternal crystal price on my server, which possibly you guys can use that to your advantage. And then lastly, once I get that reputation for the Chained Isle Crafter's Marks, I will definitely be hopping on that train. I firmly believe that Crafter's Marks will be good for this whole patch, unless they announce that something's going to be changed in the future. However, just like the Crafter's Marks 2, and just like the Novice Gear, which the Novice Gear is still going to continue to be good, all of these items are going to be perfect for those new alts, level 60s, going straight into Korthia. So, with that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed kind of this breakdown video. It was a lot of information, but hopefully this just gives you a few ideas and also can help you motivate you. And maybe you completely forgot, Dark Moon decks existed and now you're going to go craft some. But I hope this kind of breakdown video helped you guys out. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to join the Discord down below to make sure you can see all of my updates as soon as I make them available to y'all. There's also some free TSM groups in there, and it's also just an amazing community, and I would love for you to be a part of it. But thank you guys so much for watching, and of course, have a good day.